There is one big misconception out there, and that misconception is that when you break through in life, people will be happy for you. With breaking through, here I mean you overcoming obstacles and difficulty, and because of that, you gain influence, positive influence in the community. Now, in Hollywood movies, as well as in Disney fairy tales, you have the protagonist of the story overcoming a lot of difficulties, and then they break through as a hero and have a positive impact on the community. And in the movie, you see the crowd cheering for the one that broke through. Why? Because the one that broke through brought benefit to the community. Now, this is how it goes in Hollywood movies. Well, not all of them, but in many of them. And this is how it goes in Disney fairy tales. And there are many other fictional productions where this occurs. Even in books, this happens. Let me tell you one thing here that you need to remember as long as you are alive. In the world, nobody wants you to break through. Nobody. And those that do want you to break through often have an ulterior motive to it. Does that mean that you only have cynical people on the earth who want things to remain dark? I'm not saying that. Of course, there's going to be several people here and there happy for you breaking through. Absolutely. In general, the norm is, I'm talking about the general. I'm not talking about the exceptions. In Hollywood movies and Disney fairy tales, they show you exceptions. The exceptions are the norm. The norm in the world is nobody wants you to break through. This is what you need to understand about worldly people. Worldly people just want to escape. They want to escape discomfort and difficulties. Worldly people, both individuals as well as groups, they just want to be left alone. They just want to remain unchallenged, at ease, without having to take any responsibility nor accountability for anything. Whenever there's discomfort in a community, they look for someone to escalate upon, and then everyone goes back to normal. Normal in the world means the common escape. Society is a cult of escape. This is what society is. And communities in the world participate in a thing called society. Look, in the world, escaping is the norm. When the public can't escape, they want someone to escalate upon. For example, I'm going to give an example now. Let's say you have a 5-year-old girl that was sexually molested, and she opened her mouth revealing this. Now, what do you expect to happen? You should expect to happen that the parents are upset, the grandparents, everyone around is pissed off, and they report to the police and put pressure on the police to catch the perpetrator and put the man behind bars. That's what you should expect. And there are cases when this happens. But often it does not. There are many times that the victim, no matter how young and small the victim is dismissed. Why? Because the adults don't want to deal with the fact that there is a creep roaming around, especially if the creep is someone who's considered honorable in the community. Because let's get one thing straight. Child molesters are seldom those ugly-looking creatures you see in movies. In real life, they're often well-mannered, well-respected people who hide their sociopathy and their psychopathy. But anyway, let's say if a 5-year-old girl, this happens to her, nobody wants to hear about it. She develops eating disorders. She develops anorexia. She develops all kinds of issues in her teenage years because of this trauma. She ends up going to bars often, and she ends up dating some horrible men, and she becomes known as the community property of the community, which is a polite way to say she's the hoe of the community. She sleeps with everyone. All the guys in town almost have their way with her. Now, this makes her look bad, absolutely. But the people around her who see her whoring around, they feel better off, they feel better than her. So they get narcissistic supply. So they don't mind her being around, whoring around. Let's say one day she heals from the childhood trauma and from the additional traumas she accumulated. What if one day she stops whoring around, she goes to therapy, and eventually she's freed from the trauma, and now she's a public speaker about the topic. Now, when she comes out as this public speaker, it's going to feel neglect in the community. Do you think the people of her hometown who allowed this horrible crime to happen to her and refuse to do something about it, do you think they're going to be happy? No, they will not be, because their reputation is gone. Do you think the children, the spouses, and the friends and associates of those people who enabled harm on this woman when she was a child, do you think they will be happy? No, because now their reputation is affected too. They were not the ones that neglected her, but because they're now involved with people that neglected her, they go down. Let's say you have children or relatives of the individuals who let her down, working at the company. That company will also suffer reputation harm. So people in her hometown will not be happy with her breaking through. Now, she's not even a believer. She's not even born again. Yet the fact alone that she broke through from this addiction already causes people to be upset with her, because her breaking through means that there was a societal restriction that she ignored. Breaking through implies there's a societal restriction that you ignore, and you go through the resistance and you overcome the resistance. Now, societal resistance is meant to scare you into getting along with the norm. Societal resistance is designed to exhaust you and to kill you. But if you manage to go through and overcome the societal resistance, this shows that you have guts. And this scares a lot of people. Now, in the case of this woman, people may say, you just want an excuse because you were whoring around or whatever. People will try to shut her down with excuse and all of that. But the more they do that, the more they prove her point. In this case, the people from her hometown will develop grudges against her. There may even be people that may want to kill her as payback for ruining their lives. Why? Because her breaking through revealed neglect and horrible stuff about the community. And people don't want to deal with that. And here's another thing. All the other people who used to look down on her now will feel bad about themselves, because they were looking down on a survivor of childhood trauma that was coping in a horrible way. So now they don't want her story to be true, because then they need to look at themselves in the mirror, and they don't want that. So a lot of people were invested in her being worse off. All those people were invested in keeping her worse off now have to face the backlash, and they don't want that. And when people, and this is what you understand, in the world, when people are forced to face something they don't want to face, they escalate. So now you'll have an increase in crime, namely domestic violence in the same community. And who are they going to blame? This woman who broke through with her book about how she survived sexual molestation as a child. Now, this is just one example I'm giving to you. Let me give you another example. Let's say you are this guy from some ghetto in the United States, and you love to make rap songs. Nobody wants to listen to your rap songs. Then one day you put them on Spotify and they go viral. You get hundreds of thousands of views. Suddenly, you have a celebrity status, even though you're not a celebrity. People begin to look you up online on the internet. And they found out about which school you went to, where you used to work. And now think about it. You getting all this attention, it will also bring to attention where you grew up and the people you were around. Now, what others will notice is that it's only you from your neighborhood that kept going to achieve your dream. So people notice that all the people around you just went along with the dysfunction. How will this make the people around you look? It will make them look bad. So people around you in the neighborhood will not be happy that you broke through. First of all, they look down on you thinking, oh, you're just a poor kid, think you have talent. Because they were not doing anything with their lives, so they just want you to be just like them, so they don't have to face themselves. But now, anytime they see you, you remind them of how bad they've treated you, and you remind them of how they neglect themselves. So they're going to develop grudges against you, and before you know it, you may hear that the people in the streets want to shoot you or stab you. Even the police will advise you to get out of the neighborhood. So understand this. You breaking through will cause a ripple effect on the lives of those around you. It will. People didn't ask for this ripple effect, and people don't want to deal with it either. But once you break through, there's no choice for them to deal with the ripple effect. Now, if people treated you badly in the past, and now you break through, the ripple effect will automatically cause them to face additional hardship in life or to face tragedies. It can even cause them to become the focus of negative attention when it comes out how bad they treated you. So what I'm saying is that in the world, people just want the equilibrium. They want the daily ease where they don't have to face any difficulty and where they don't have to answer for themselves. The none of your business attitude or this private life bullshit, that's what the world wants. Anyone who disrupts this gets revenge. Look, if you are a criminal and you are robbing places, people will be upset with you, but hey, when the police comes and arrests you, they can play the victim and the courthouse can play the hero by putting you in prison. But if you do something positive, something good, and your positivity reflects bad on them because their negativity becomes exposed, I'm telling you, people will develop deep hatred towards you. They will develop this intense desire to harm you and even to kill you. They will develop fierce grudges against you. Not just grudges, fierce grudges. There will be people so upset with you that the first thing on their mind when they wake up in the morning is you and how to bring you down. They'll be stalking you, they'll be all over your affairs, and they'll be active, looking for ways to bring you down, to the extent that they neglect their own lives and own obligations in daily life. Yes, this happens. There are people going to fortune tellers to be informed about you. There are people who even hire criminals to check on you. That's how far it goes. Listen to what I'm saying here, believers. Nobody in the world, I'm talking about the world now, wants you to break through. The exceptions that do are rare. Now, if you encounter exceptions, rejoice, but don't expect the exceptions to be the norm. Even Christ himself, when he walked the earth and he broke through, he had his own hometown Nazareth turning on him. Christ was seldom celebrated when he walked the earth. And that's something a lot of us can't understand. We have an image of Christ in our minds that when he walked the earth in human form, that he was praised for the great things and the good things he was doing. He was not. Christ was hated. Christ was scorned by the public. Christ, let me say, a lot of people had contempt for Christ. They couldn't stand his name nor his presence. There were tens of thousands of people stalking him on a regular basis to hinder him. So that is why I'm pointing this out to you. Nobody in the world wants you to break through. Whether it's you overcoming trauma or something bad that happened to you, or whether it's you just use your gifts and talents and have an impact on the community or have an impact on the youth, people don't want you to break through. And if you end up breaking through, they now want to put all types of restrictions on you. That's why, for example, if there's police brutality going on in the United States, and you have this celebrity or this football player or whatever or an athlete speaking out against the injustice, People are going to say, hey, but you're an athlete, you are a singer, or you are an actor. Why are you so occupied with political issues? Well, that individual, despite their public image, they are a human being upset with how other human beings are being harmed. And they're calling it out. Does that mean they are politically active? No, they're not. But the public doesn't want to hear it because the public doesn't want to be challenged. Even politicians and officials out there are not allowed to speak on every matter because the public doesn't want to be challenged. Anytime you break through in life, you challenge the darkness of those around you. And those other people, they can't handle being challenged. When they are challenged by your positivity, there's no defense and no excuse that can cover their neglect. They neglect both themselves and one another. Your positivity, you breaking through with your positive attitude, will leave them without excuses. It will expose them for how narcissistic they are. And those people cannot handle this. It will cause them to lose sleep at night. It will cause them to be unable to look at themselves in the mirror. It will cause them to explode on their spouses, their children, or the people around them. Mentally, they can't handle this. And who are they going to blame for the anxiety and the mental issues that will come from this? You. That is why you have to be watchful where you share your good news. Sharing good news should be praised by the world. Good news should make people happy. Good news should motivate people. But in this world where people just want to escape, good news is seen as an attack. People are going to think, who do you think you are, being so happy all the time? Who do you think you are, thinking you're worth something? Who told you that you matter? Who told you your life matters? People in the world, they lack self-worth. And they compensate this by controlling and sabotaging those around them. So the moment you break through, you are shaking off their negative grip upon you. You're shaking off their attempts and their entitlement to blackmail you. And the moment you do that, they feel attacked as if you're robbing them. And when you continue to break through, and the ripple effect of you breaking through keeps affecting them, they are going to feel raped. They are going to feel raped by you. Because they keep encountering the ripple effects of you breaking through, even though they just want to be left alone. People will develop deep-rooted, fierce grudges against you when you break through. So when you break through, and you have little children growing up, and listen, if they can't get to you, they will come after your children. Or they'll come after your spouse or your in-laws. That's why often when you break through in life, there are going to be people walking away from you. Why are those people walking away from you? It's not because of something wrong you've done. Because those other people, they can feel the contention and the anger against you. And they know very well when the public is pissed off, when the public is upset, when the public is losing their mind, and they can't find their target, they will attack anyone near the target. And those people don't want to become collateral damage because people are upset with you. They choose their own safety by staying away from you. Now, when they just walk away from you without telling you why, it feels like betrayal. And to some extent it is. But you also need to understand, they have no protection. Because if people decide to go after them, people also will go after their families. Let's say you have a best friend and he's married and he has children. And he also has a lot of nieces and all of that. When people can't come after you, and remember that this best friend was associated with you, they'll go after him. And when they go after him, they also go after his children and everyone surrounding him. When you break through, it's not a strange thing to experience people abandoning you. Because people will experience threats towards their lives because they're associated with you. It's backwards, but that's how the world operates. Nobody wants you to break through. Nobody. People will develop deep-rooted grudges against you. And those grudges have nothing to do with anything you've done, because you didn't do anything wrong to trigger these grudges. Some of you used to be drug dealers, or you used to be wife beaters, or you used to be in and out of jail all the time. And people just thought, oh, well, this guy is just a loser, this guy is just pathetic. They were okay with you. They didn't even bother with you. But now that you've healed from your broken past, now suddenly people are upset with you. Now they want to remind you how it used to be. Why? Because you in a bad state enabled them to get relief, because they could look down on you and feel bad about themselves. But you improving from where you were makes everyone see that they, as a community, allow bad stuff to happen. Their neglect collectively is exposed by you breaking through. And they don't want this. It makes them look bad, and it makes them lose reputation, and it makes them face difficulties because of it. So it has nothing to do with what you've done. Some people prefer you to be a hardcore criminal, or a hardcore child molester, or a hardcore terrorist. They would prefer you to be a monster, because then at least they can play the victim and to get sympathy. But how are people going to be upset with someone who's doing well? But this often happens in the world. Folks will develop grudges against you when you do well and when you do better. If people celebrate you for doing well, they never want you to do better than them. So they want you to be as self-sabotaging as they are. So beware who you share your good news with. There will be deep-rooted grudges that people will develop against you, because you make it hard for them to be neglectful and to sabotage themselves and other people. Don't take it personally, take it spiritually. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ. Beware who we share good news with, and do not expect a standing ovation when you break through. Be at peace.